This guy does the California Playbook for Politico, and I'll talk about the merch a little bit later. I want to get to Jeremy. He is Jeremy B. White, so kind to spend some time with us. Wow, what a busy couple of days you've had. How did the pollsters do in California forecasting what would happen?
You know, it's with the caveat that it's still early and they're still counting the votes and we're going to see some races tighten. I actually think the pollsters did pretty well here. You know, we were looking at maybe 8 contested House races, a smaller handful of them true sort of toss-ups. And within those, I think for the most part, you are seeing that. The races I am most watching right now for the House in California, Congresswoman Katie Porter in Orange County holding onto a lead of fewer than 1,000 votes. Congressman Mike Levin, also a Democrat, up a little more, but holding onto a fairly slender lead down there in Southern California. Both of those tabbed as some of the big battleground races here. An open seat in the Central Valley that Assemblymember Adam Gray, a Democrat, and Farmer John Duarte are fighting over. Adam Gray is currently trailing slightly, but you know, it's a close one. And then one more House race that I am very much keeping an eye on. Republican Ken Calvert down in the desert is trailing Democrat Will Rollins. That district got Palm Springs drawn into it as part of redistricting. So it's gotten a lot more progressive and candidly a lot gayer. And so, you know, we will see what happens.
Yeah, I was watching some of those last night. It's so difficult in California because you want the results right now. You see East Coast results coming in, and yet, you know, we just, especially on the races just being so tight as they are this year, you just don't have those kinds of results early. You mentioned the GOP and some gains, and the Katie Porter sort of hanging by a thread. The Central Valley race, you mentioned that, right? Melissa Hurtado? And
yeah, so a state Senate race there. That one is one of the was for Senate Democrats. That was their top defensive priority. Millions and millions of dollars went to protecting Senator Melissa Hurtado, a moderate Democrat in Central Valley, and she is trailing. You know, Central Valley, those votes come in slowly. She's trailing by about 3,400 votes at the moment, which is a fairly significant margin. That one is certainly not over, but, you know, that's one where a targeted Democrat is losing. There are a couple other assembly races in which targeted Democrats have fallen behind. So I think certainly in California, as in other parts of the country, we didn't see this big red wave that we were expecting. But it does look like Republicans have the opportunity to maybe pick up a couple seats in the legislature. The House looks like the parties may more or less fight to a draw, perhaps a shift of one seat in either direction.
The controller race, you know, I saw that Lonnie Chen went down, even though there was a lot of in the media ecosphere, he was very well thought of and well endorsed. I mean, when I say that, I'm talking about like places like the LA Times, I think, endorsed him. And the mayoral race in Southern California, that's down to a really tough, I mean, it's remarkable. Karen Bass is way ahead of this guy, Rick Caruso. We've talked about it before, and you kind of have brought some clarity to this. But, I mean, to draw this tight, this late in the count, wow.
And I should note that it's actually fairly early in the count in LA.
Oh, is it?
Oh, yes. So, you know, we are expecting, we're not expecting a victor in that race until, I'm guessing, sometime next week at the earliest, keeping in mind we are not getting another update from that race until Friday. In the primary, it took quite a while for the votes to be counted. It took days for Karen Bass to surpass Rick Caruso in the primary. She ultimately beat him by, I think, 7 points. As it currently stands, there's about 500,000 votes counted in that race. I suspect we will see a fair amount more than that. So it's definitely early days there in the LA mayoral. Speaking of LA, though, it does look like the controversial sheriff, Alex Villanueva, there is headed to defeat. He is somebody who has courted a lot of controversy in his term, resisted oversight, His deputies recently raided the home of a supervisor who has scrutinized him. A lot of folks saw that as an act of political retribution. And so the mayoral one, we're going to have to wait on for a while, but it certainly looks like the voters of LA have likely selected a new sheriff.
Yeah, and it's interesting, live by the sword, die by the sword. As I recall, he beat an incumbent, which is very hard to do, in general, but also in that sheriff's office. And here he is, the incumbent, and likely to go down to defeat, as you suggested. Propositions, Jeremy, could you give us a snapshot of those, the 26 and 27, where all that money was going in? They were forecast to fail, and they failed miserably, right? Those are the gambling propositions.
Absolutely. And look, I don't think there were any surprises in the ballot initiatives. The gambling measures failed catastrophically in the case of Prop 27. The measure backed by DraftKings et al. That would have allowed them to essentially control sports betting online. Last I checked, it was losing with like 84% of the state voting against it, which is just the craziest margin you will ever see. Californians voted to protect abortion rights, dedicate money to school, arts and music funding, instruction. Third kidney dialysis initiative in a row went down. All things that I think folks more or less expected. The only ballot initiative that I think was sort of kind of competitive looking at the polls was the Lyft-funded Prop 30, which would have funded electric vehicle stuff by raising the income tax of wealthy Californians. That one defeated handily. So a fairly drama-free ballot initiative slate this time, I would say.
We're talking to Jeremy B. White, does the California Playbook on Politico. You should get it. Google it. It's their regular updates on everything going on in California. And I think you'll find it a great repository of so much good stuff. It's not all straight politics. Repository is a ding word, by the way.
And you know what
what's that, Jeremy? You don't think it should be dinged?
No, I was just going to say what I like about the California Playbook at Politico.com is that it's not very long. It's like maybe 3, 4, 5 paragraphs. And after that, you feel with so much knowledge about what's happening in the state. And people are like, how do you know that? Well, because I read the California Playbook. That's high.
Okay.
I appreciate that. We do our best to keep it tight.
Yeah, it's true. Our attention spans are short. Give me the quick hit.
Our target audience is people like lying in bed in their underwear scrolling through their phone. So we try to meet people where they're at.
There you go.
That's very funny. Well, I didn't go.
What?
Okay, so do you have a tweet in the Playbook? I think it's today where you. It's from Deanna McDonald. It says, Los Angeles. Let me put it in a way you can understand. Celebs endorsing Karen Bass. Kerry Washington, Natalie Portman, John Legend, Jane Fonda, America Ferrera, is it Aloe Black? Celebs endorsing Rick Caruso. The Kardashians, Gwyneth Paltrow, Katy Perry, Elon Musk, Chris Pratt, and Scooter Braun. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very LA. One of the funny things about watching that race, the moment that I think the most people were like, what, was when Snoop Dogg endorsed Rick Caruso. A lot of folks were like, okay, Snoop. Whatever. I don't think celebrity endorsements really convince anyone, but it's very interesting in LA seeing where the sort of celebrities who can afford homes in Beverly Hills are falling.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's wealth trumping any kind of celebrity ultimately. But did we leave anything out? I'm going to let you go, but it's so cool that you spent some time with us. I just think that in California, as you say, things kind of went, the DA's race in San Francisco, Brooke Jenkins.
Yeah, I think Brooke Jenkins, who was appointed to replace Chesa Boudin, who was recalled earlier this year, I don't think anybody doubted that she would win. Part of the question was whether she would be able to avoid a runoff. It looks like she will, given San Francisco's ranked choice voting system. So she's probably sitting pretty. That one was fairly drama-free, and we will see.
Yeah. John Daly's a big fan of Brooke. Well, she's kind of a friend of the show. So he was messaging me all night. Brooke looks like she's going to be on. It was very sweet. I love the passion, that John brought to that. So
fabulous producer, yeah. John Daly.
Jeremy, thank you. I want people to read the Playbook, get the Playbook, and support your work. It's just such great work, and we so appreciate you being here because I know you've had a long night. So thanks so much.
No problem.
Thanks,
Anytime,
Jeremy.
guys.
All right,
Bye.
Jeremy B. White, everybody. The California Playbook on Politico.